Welcome back. Secret House. Tokyo Bass. Underground independent, primarily underground independent hip-hop album reviews, primarily hip-hop, but occasionally we'll dabble into some other music genres if they meet the criterias of dopeness and you know, what we like to do. Man, I was feeling really good about getting together to record today, but I'm also feeling really tired because of circumstances. We apologize to everybody who's been waiting for uploads. It's been at least a month since we recorded, but I caught COVID, and then we caught busyness, and then we got scheduling situations, but we're happy to get together today for y'all and drop some album reviews. We're going to do, I think, at least 2 today. I think we're going to do 2. Some of you guys might have been expecting to hear us do the Danger Mouse and Black Thought, which is, you know, a more popular album that I might stray away from, but I actually do want to talk about that. Some of you might have been expecting us to do the JID, which is another more popular album, but I really enjoy that, and I would like to talk about that.
We'll get on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we can find the time, we can get to it. But
yeah, I've been listening to that junk.
But yeah, it's one of it's album of the year contender.
Yes, it is.
Album of the year contender.
Yeah,
but
without a doubt.
But you know, another thing is that there's been hella underground independent cats who aren't going to get those album reviews. And you know, when I think about it, it's like if I got to do a JID versus some other cat, like, I don't know, I heard about this cat named Jesse the Tree that's coming out on Strange Famous. I almost rather give it to the Jesse the Tree cat. I don't know his music, but everybody gonna talk about JID. You want us to get on here and say the same shit about how dope the lyrics are that Fantano and Dead End Hip Hop and, you know, every other music channel is like, yes, that album is phenomenal. But if it's, you know, I like to take those type of things into account when we're putting together our schedule. So we might get to it, man. I'm hoping that we can get continuous, maybe even get together on Wednesdays when we're off sometimes to put these out. We want to do some more of these EPs that drop. Maybe we can, you know, put it together. But today, thank you. Please hit the like, subscribe, and all those type of things.
Thank you for 600 subscribers as well.
Oh, word.
Yeah,
we 600?
Yeah, we over 6.
Oh,
we over 600,
Hey.
and our 600 subscriber I won't name, but was
I'm
pretty.
going to name it,
pretty
bro.
cool person.
I'm not exactly sure if it's precisely 600 or not, but I noticed it said no name. And I was like, oh shit, like somebody named No Name subscribed to the joint. When I clicked on that No Name account, it went to No Name, 50,000 subscribers.
Oh, really?
So I'm almost certain that is No Name. Yeah. And I like to think that, you know, No Name is one of the very few, I almost want to say mainstream, but she's like on that right on that kind of line of underground and mainstream. And I don't think she's recording music right now, but she's one of the very few actual leftist, politically left, and by people that rock with us know that. I'm not talking about no neoliberal or some progressive social democrat or some bullshit. She's an actual leftist in that space, and I like to think that maybe she gravitated to us for part of that reason, because at least 2/3 of the podcast, like to throw. But you know, it's also important though, Spade, even though you don't rock with it, is the conversations that come about that. You are another. You are a point that counters that, and we have to have those conversations. So our reviews are much more than reviews. I like to think they're conversations about the art and ideology behind a lot of these things. And speaking of which, we're going to get into Roc Marciano today. You know what I mean? Roc Marciano and the Alchemist collaborative album, The Elephant Man's Bones, which just recently dropped. It is 14 songs and 38 minutes. A variety of features on this from some of his regular type collaborators, Knowledge the Pirate, Boldy James is on here, as well as Action Bronson, and like Ice-T is credited on this too. Shout out to Ice-T. We like to, since we've never reviewed a Roc Marci album before, I'd like us to kind of just talk about our experience with the artist, whether we know him or not, and general thoughts on his discography or his styles and shit. Spade, you wanna start us off with that?
Well, mine is quick. I have never listened to a Roc Marci album. However, I have heard many things about him.
Okay.
And that's it for me.
Does he have, like, I know one of your favorites, and I don't want to hold you to it, but I've heard you say like your favorite MC is like Royce.
Yes.
Royce the 5'9". I can't remember if there's Royce the 5'9" Roc Marci collaborations, but I feel like perhaps there were in the past. But yeah, Roc Marci.
Maybe that snuck under me. But yeah, I've never listened to a full project.
Okay, Roc Marci. He used to be with Flipmo Squad way back in the day.
Really?
Different style, pretty much. But yeah, I used to be with Flip Mode Squad. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first Roc Marci album that I actually like sat down and listened to in its entirety was Marcialago from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, like
There's the one where he's got
2019.
the two guns on the cover. I think that's a phenomenal album.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite albums, like of this type.
Yeah.
Like he goes crazy on it, and the beats are really, really interesting. He does a lot of, I guess, kind of thematically linked albums, right? You got like a bunch of like Pimp Records and Reload and stuff like that.
Rosebud Revenge.
And yeah, I don't know if I'd consider myself to be a hardcore fan. I haven't listened to everything, but I've always rocked with Marci. I think he's dope.
I'm a fairly big fan of his catalog and his work. I definitely recognize him as being one of some people have called him the godfather of this kind of new generation of East Coast boom bap, the kind of regeneration of lyricism over samples and beats. And he, to me, he's one of the he's at the highest tier of talent when it comes to being a producer MC. There's very few cats who kind of straddle that line, and he's working with Alchemist completely on this, but he produced Stove God's kind of debut album, Reasonable Drought. He's got those things, and he's also dabbled and worked with a lot of cats who are thematically different than him, stylistically not, I don't want to say similar, but kind of aesthetically comparable. Like he's done tracks with Billy Woods, like he's got works with Billy Woods. Ka and him are really known collaborators that are, it's different. Roc Marci is on some real fly New York pimp slick type of player, you know what I mean? Like real cat shit. Like he's kind of the idealized version of like an East Coast cat from the 90s. Like he ain't doing no corny shit. He's real fly player shit. He's not going to embarrass himself on Twitter or some shit like that. And I also just think that like when it comes to lyricism, he's got a really interesting style and he puts together some really dope bars. He's held as one of the doper lyricists throughout hip hop. You ask Busta Rhymes or Jay-Z is like, yo, you want some real lyricism, like listen to Roc Marci. A lot of these, he's almost that, like how how a lot of cats say like your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. He definitely meets that criteria when it comes to people who are fans of East Coast lyricism. And his style kind of created the lane for people to just focus on the lyricism and move away from your Dipset, your G Unit type of East Coast sound. And he's kind of the forebearer of that and has been doing it for a fucking decade at least, right? So I like him a lot. He's not my personal favorite just because of some of his content sits on me weirdly. Like I don't really get into like I can't rock with like the player pimp bars all the time, just personally. But yeah, he's fucking great. He's a great rapper, I feel. So I did want to try to go at this in a little bit of a different way for us. Usually after we discuss the artist, we kind of just like, what are your general thoughts? But I thought today maybe we could hit it with like a good, bad, and ugly type of approach where we kind of talk about things that we enjoy about the album, the things that we didn't enjoy about the album, and the things that are just like ugly, which is your perspective of it. You know what I mean? Like anything, it could be anything. So you guys want to do it like that, or should we go back to the old side? I know I mentioned this in a group chat a while ago, but I haven't.
I'm bad at the group chat. I'm sorry.
I know. And you know what's fucked up? I was just telling Spade before you came through. I was like, what's wild about Spade in the group chat is that he be the one sober all the time. And they're like, how do you don't follow? What time are we meeting today? I asked 3:30. If you scroll up 5 inches, you'll see the time right there.
It's a reason for that. I'll talk about it later.
Yeah, I don't hate on it. I don't hate on it at all. But I do think it's funny when Spade roll up, be like, "What albums we doing today?" Oh, that one? It's like, no, dog, like the group chat. But yeah, let's you guys want to try a good, bad, and ugly approach?
Sure, why not?
Who wants to go first? I've been talking for at least 3 minutes.
All right, the good. Like 95% of the lyrics on this album. He paints very vivid images. He does these very clever like associations in which he'll bring up like one concept, he'll bring up another, and he'll tie them together really elegantly. He just continues this like stream of lyrical, these phrasings and stuff at you. And there's dozens and dozens of really, really great lines on this album. I'm sure you have some.
I mean, yeah,
that you wanted to pull up.
I could definitely pull up lyrics all over this thing, but like I did write some down. But if you just pull up any of the tracks, there's going to be some weird shit like just me and my Uzi looking like we a couple spooning. Enough with the canoodling, blow your noodles all over your beautiful grip. I mean, your beautiful drip. Like he's just really dope with the fly shit, man. Like, because it's such a spoken style, a lot of it can kind of just like turn into just like rhyming, but some of these connections are really kind of brilliant and really dope. I mean, the rapping is extremely high tier. It just depends on if you care about the content or not, right?
Sure.
Or kind of like how you view what rapping is supposed to sound like. But the Alchemist beats kind of work. I like that Alchemist actually threw some drums on this. There's a few different stylistically different tracks that I think break up kind of the monotony of this very thematic approach that he seems to have with his music, where I think this album is put together to be kind of cohesive, and I do kind of like the cohesion, but it also comes at the expense of like a palette value. Like there's like a palette here that is very similar. But what do you think? What did you think about the lyricism, Spade? Because I mean,
I respect you guys' opinion, seriously, but I totally disagree with all of it. I felt this album checked all the boxes, but it was meh at best. The metaphors, not bad, but not great either. This whole album with the Alchemist beats lean too heavy on the samples for me. And look, man, I think it's time for us to face it. Alchemist has fell off. He's not the same beat maker he used to be. Like, it's almost to the point that Alchemist is becoming a characterization of himself. It's like, if I was looking up Alchemist type beats, these are the type of beats on this album that I would like, oh yeah, that's an Alchemist type beat. It's like, put a little vocal sample in the beginning, put one in the end, put a loop right here, a 4-bar loop that doesn't change, it's not interesting, and it's not creative anymore. Like,
isn't that what we say about everybody who like a Metro Boomin type beat is a Metro Boomin type beat?
Well,
I mean, like there are qualities of a producer that just remain similar, right?
But however, the fall off has happened. Like, Alchemist is not even getting creative with it anymore. Like, this is not prime Alchemist listening anymore. It's almost like Alchemist got a 3-slapper minimum when he does an album. He's like, yo, Roc, I'm gonna give you 3 slappers, and the rest of these are gonna be throwaway tracks. Do what you can with it. Like, for me personally, listen to this album, I'm just like, nah, dog, not feeling a lot of this. The ones with drum, honestly, were the best.
Bubble Bath.
Actually, Zip Zag, what was it? Zig was probably my favorite track on here. But a lot of Roc's flows and the topics didn't really hit me. It's a whole bunch of coke rap. Like, coke rap. I'm like, bro, ain't you over 40?
Pimp rap too, bro.
The rap is like a guy who's still out here in the streets. And let me tell you something, buddy. At 44, if you're still out in the streets, something went terribly wrong. Like, you need to really evaluate your life, and you still out here trying to grind at 44. Like, there's not even like lyrics coming from the perspective of me getting out of the hood and telling you how to get out the hood, like in the Yo Gotti cocaine music. This is just like, yo, I'm out here, son. Pistol grip to your neck. I'm like, man, you're an older rapper, bro. I expect better than this content. But overall, the album was just mad to me. It wasn't good or great. Maybe I can go back to some of his older content and like it. But, even Alchemist, bro, like, yo, you got to stop these 4 to 8 bar loops that are just boring and mundane. Like, even the mix wasn't live. Like, there are producers right now who are doing like this style of beat making that are doing it better than you, bro. And to me, I'm just like, yo, dog, it's just, you're almost beat maker emeritus now. It's like, if you can do a album with Alchemist, yes, do it, because the name is going to get you far. But like, there are guys right now who are doing way better tracks in this style than Alchemist, and that's just my opinion.
Okay, I mean,
what do you think of the? I also disagree. But what do you think of the Quantum Leap beat?
The Quantum Leap beat was actually alright.
Okay,
right?
because I picked
You
that
think
one just
you think
because.
if I play some of these in the background, are we gonna get copyright?
Yes,
Yo,
definitely.
Alex,
Definitely.
Probably.
we know
Definitely.
you
Alex.
watch this,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
like, please don't copyright strike us unless you just really, really hate Spade. In which case, go for it. I guess.
You know what? I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck if they do or not. So what are they gonna get? Like fucking $5? You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
right,
what were we
right.
gonna get?
The-
$1? Which
10
did you
cents
just
from
say? Quantum Leap?
Quantum Leap. So this was probably my favorite beat on the album. But what I like about it is there's a lot of like subtlety in the beat. You know, he's got that little arpeggio that builds up.
I do take. I get that. I know that this is not necessarily your bag, and I'm not sure if you have any artists that make music like this that you genuinely love, like just from a personal standpoint.
I put it like this: the next album we're gonna review is this album, a better version of this album to me.
The Shrapnel shit? Oh, I don't think it's similar
It's better
in that regard.
It's a lot better.
Okay.
Like the boom bapness and the way that the tracks hit, they're more creative. Like the way they're putting together the instruments, they're very stripped down like this is. But the mix, its presence, it has more energy than this album right here. This album was just
they're
mundane.
both like hella hip hop. Is what
I'm
would
not saying
say.
it's not hip hop,
Yeah.
but I'm saying this
No,
album is dirgy, slow, and dull.
Okay. I don't agree with that shit.
I don't think
almost
it's
at
dull.
all.
There's nothing
I
hype
do
about
think,
this album.
I do think that maybe nothing like immediately jumps out at me on this record. It does follow like a single kind of track basically throughout the whole record. You have like a few switch ups every now and then. Title track, you know, there's that vocal sample that comes in, then it goes back and it's kind of jazzy and kind of sad compared to some of the other beats. But I think maybe a little more variety for 45-minute runtime would have been cool. But I think he's quite tasteful with the number of features on there. Everybody like brings it. I like Action Bronson a lot on here because he brings a little
Bronson
more.
had some. What did he
a little
say?
more energy and he's fucking crazy on her.
What did he say? Put you to sleep with the geese sleeve.
Yo,
hard, yeah.
Bodie James got off on this album. I
Bodie
must say
James,
he had
yeah.
like the
Bodie
best
was hard,
verse
too.
on this album. But Roc has what I call
What?
the cheat code flow. Like
What?
he has the cadence that when people listen to it, they feel like lyrical content is coming with this cadence. I hear it all the time when people rap like this. And it's like, but listen to this. It's not gibberish, guys. I'm not saying it. It's not gibberish. He has solid bars, but I just wasn't impressed myself. I was just like, okay, just a bunch of ways to say I flip coke on this album. I'm not saying that's his whole catalog, but on this album, it was a bunch of coke rap. But the back end of the album was a lot better than the front end. The first, like, 7 songs, I was just like, oh, God.
I mean,
Sleepy.
there
I
is a
actually
lot of,
like there's like a really strong. I want to say in the beginning half of the album, from Quantum Leap, Elephant Man's Bones. Sorry, I'm drinking like a cola joint. It's like got me mad burping. Excuse me. But no, I want to say like Quantum Leap, Elephant Man's Bones, and Bubble Bath are kind of like one of my favorite 3-track runs. And it's drummy on that. I just like before I don't really feel like we need to focus so much on whether or not the rap is good or whether or not the beats are good. I'd rather just talk about like the qualities that I kind of enjoy of it instead of try to counter you, because I understand how some of this is a little bit like almost sound it like I don't want to say it's monotone, but this album does have a very
Monotone is fair.
Well, I mean, like I feel for me, I notice a variety of different sounds, and I would never say that the beat is like simple. People want to make a lot of beats like Alchemist, and some people probably meet a criteria, but Alchemist does a lot of things that I feel are really subtle, and I think that's one of the brilliance of his sounds. Like I wouldn't call it a fall off. Alchemist had like 3 albums last year. He was Grammy nominated on the Fetty. Like I think that Alchemist is I don't know if he's at Apex Mountain, his peak, but he's doing something very different than when he was making beats with Prodigy and Casual. And I like fucking Haram was one of my favorites. I know you didn't like that one, and I think maybe what it is just like you just don't care for Alchemist style of production, which is fine.
Here's the thing. Old Alchemist, yes. New Alchemist, not so much. But
When you say, I mean, Alchemist's been doing it for 20
that's
years.
the
What
thing, right?
is old Alchemist
And
for
that's
you?
the thing, right? There are peaks and valleys. Right now, I'm just saying. Whereas these tracks, I guess if you like them, you like them. But it's not peak Alchemist. It's a fall off. It's a deviation from like drums and patterns. Like even a lot. I can't think of the track, but it was one track, right? It was open, which is cool. And then he just used drum fills in between it. no patterns, just drum fills. And look, I'm not trying to be like technical on the beat making skills. Do what you want to do, but for me, like drum fills indicate a transition, a shift. But I'm hearing nothing but drum fills over the same 4 bars. For me, it's just like, you getting my ear ready for something, but it's not coming. So like in this, that's an aesthetic choice, and that could be subtle intricacies that you guys like. But for me personally, it's kind of stale. So maybe it is me not liking this production style.
I feel like I could, like, if we were to turn on an Alchemist beat, like, you know, pick one, I would be able to sit there, listen to it with you, and tell you like the way that this sample is panned here, and the way that these multiple samples come in, and these various little subtle changes to the production are qualities that show like a high level ability when it comes to sample choices, manipulation, and creating a palette using samples. I feel like I could do that with so many of his beats on several of the albums we've talked about with Alchemist, but there is something to say. Like,
I can see why the etherealness of some of the production on here, like, just isn't for everyone.
Right.
Like,
I personally,
I'm not trying to say like, oh, you know, some people don't get it or whatever. Like, that's not how I see it. I know this. You know, Spade's a great beat maker, and I respect what you do musically a lot.
How do you think this compares to like other rock albums where he does the production? So I don't love this album as much as some of his other. No, I mean,
so like compared to like Marciano, for example, Marciano, even down to the cover, it takes that coke pimp rap aesthetic, but it also kind of makes it a little absurd. It's got that blaxploitation kind of angle going on, right? There's a bit of a sweet back, like Shaft style thing going on, right? And it just makes the whole thing a little more like fun and kind of you know, it's a little more explosive. There's a little bit more going on, whereas this album is very like, you know, tracks kind of just come and go for 45 minutes. But I'm fine with that personally. You know, this is I'm into this kind of stuff. I appreciate the ambience of the album. I think there's a lot of emphasis on just like mood and tone here, and the kind of pictures the Roc Marciano's kind of trying to paint. But
I think the lyricism is phenomenal throughout the project, and if you kind of listen to a lot of the things, there's a lot of points on this album that I feel he gets a little bit more personal and insightful about some of the things that he's rapping about. Of course, like a lot of this shit gets into like what I would call like, you know, toxic masculinity or like manosphere type of talking points, but like, I mean, like you're allowed to do that. Like the thing is, like, he's a part of that like this type of person that feels like, you know, this is what he does. He's too much a player to not womanize, and he could be 40 or not. I don't know what he does, but you know what I mean? Like when the alternative is like other coke raps, like Pusha T, right? Like I get a little bit more out of Roc Marciano, especially on this album. I noticed that I was finding bars where he was kind of like putting some of the hurt in there, and discussing how you know, there's pain on some of these things, and it wasn't like it was like mad like vulnerable raps, but it's something that I kind of picked apart in between the I don't even want to call this coke rap, because I think he's more pimp than coke rapping. A lot of times, a lot of these bars is about like, you know, this bitch ain't shit, but nothing but pigeon shit on a windshield, and it's like that's where I get. That's the ugly part of it.
It was wrapped up in stepping on cocaine.
Oh, there's absolutely.
It's like, here's the thing. I really
in the kitchen cooking chicken. I whip the brick. Now it's submissive.
I'm not saying that like I'm anti coke rap, or I'm not saying that age has anything to do with it so much, but I prefer my coke rap to have more energy. Like this was a kind of, I don't know, maybe it put me in a dark spot of like no hope. Listening to this,
all this ice won't remove my bruise. You know what I mean? It is bleak. Yeah.
So I mean,
I get it.
I'm not saying this album is bad too, guys. I'm just saying I didn't personally like it, and these are the things I didn't like about it. However, I can see like, I hate to use the cliche, but I can see genius in the album, and I can see why people would like this album. But just for me personally, it didn't click. It was pretty dull and meh. Like, would I listen to this album again? Honestly, no. Would I go back and listen to his old catalog to see if some gems in there? I definitely would. But not this album. Not for me. Just meh for me.
Yeah, I quite enjoy this album from top to bottom. It's another example to me is like I'm a big fan. Maybe I wouldn't say that Alchemist is on like a fall off part, but there's almost like an oversaturation of the sound. And I've been waiting for a new Roc Marciano for a minute, and this just I think it's great, but it also just wasn't like I didn't have like kind of an excitement to go back to this too much.
Little heavy on the skits as well.
Thank you. Like the tropes are really there, and every Alchemist album, recent album I'm hearing, is the same format. And look, once again, Alchemist, if people ask for the tracks, man, get your tracks off, bruh. But I just feel like these are just like formulaic at this point. Yeah. That's for you, Jet.
Yeah. I don't like, Alchemist is doing different things, but there is kind of a vibe. I get it. But some of these bars.
What is he doing different? Like, seriously, maybe I'm missing it, because like I feel like you taking a sample, flipping it, pitching it, and panning it is not innovative to me. Once again, the Metal Slug album, when you hear what I gotta say about that, you can hear the contrast.
That to me, that's like it's almost like a completely different subgenre of hip hop than what Roc Marciano is trying to do. It to me, it's kind of like comparing, a Yo Gotti versus Boldy James. Like they're almost completely different subgenres, despite having similarities and things to say. But like, I don't know if I want to say that Alchemist is doing something different, but I do think that he took into consideration what Roc wanted to have, and he creates it's thematic, and it feels like these parts are not just like, yo, I got beats, here's a bunch, figure it out. I feel like he's kind of working on that. And man, for again, like I don't mind the kind of sparseness of the sound sometimes. I did enjoy the tracks with the drums just a little bit much more. Like Bubble Bath to me is fucking hard, and the lyrics on that shit are fucking great to me. Like he got like, inside my mind is a diamond mine, this is a homicide, took it to trial and beat it like Amistad. Ask my top 5, bet I reply me 5 times like Dylan. I'm going on a diatribe. He's just so fly. Like when I listen to Roc Marciano, I'll be like, damn, this nigga is cool. Damn, I'm not gonna womanizing. I'm nasty with it right now.
I was a little mad as soon as he said like top 5. I was like, oh, he's gonna make a Dylan joke, and then straight away it comes in. I'm like,
bro, he's going on a diatribe. I know that I like I fucking think it's great. I think this album is great. It's not my personal favorite. If I had to list like my top 5 albums from Roc, this might not hit my top 5, but he's just consistently good at rapping. And the beats on this I don't find any particular problem with them. I don't love this album much, but I think that it is really good. And there's like 3 or 4 tracks on this that I would add to my like permanent dope Roc Marci. Did I say 3 or 4 albums? 3 or 4 tracks on this that I would add to my permanent Roc Marci is hard as fuck joint.
Playlist,
Bubble Bath is dope, and I actually was hoping that you would hear that and be like, okay, finally we got some drums. It's not like incredible drumming, but it's a different. I can't remember the last drum shit.
It's like I said it. Alk is going to give you 3 bangers on every album, and I feel like there are 3 bangers on here, man, and that's one of them. Bubble Bath, Zigzag Zig. And what's the other one? What's it? Gravity's Fall?
Quantum.
No, JJ Flash. I actually like that track. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, man. This might not make it my top 10 of the year. Probably. I would expect a Roc album to hit a top 10 for me. A lot of years they do, but the last joint didn't hit for me, which was like what Mount Marcy didn't hit my top 10, and also Marcialago. Yeah. Well, Marcialago was last year because it came out in like December of 2020. Yeah. So I don't know, man. Like I like Roc Marci's production that he does himself, and I kind of want that album back. But this is phenomenal. If I have to rate it out of 10 or on our criteria, greatest album ever, album, whack, terrible, mad, average, boo boo, I would say this is the greatest album ever. I think a strong 7 is clear, maybe possibly pushing towards an 8 for me. Like the highest qualities of what I would expect from this particular subgenre ecosystem of rap, with the production style and the lyricism. Like, what more can you ask for? Ka. If you like, the ugliest shit about this album to me is that the topics are not something that I would rock with. I wouldn't want to play this album for my nephew and be like, yo, peep game, figure it out. But this is albums for like 40-year-old New York cats to be still chilling, and that's fine for that. But I'm not into the womanizing, the pimping, and the stepping on drug shit like that. And for if I want something smarter than that, I would go to Ka, who does something similar.
Sure.
Dope album.
Yeah, this is like a either strong album or light greatest album ever for me. Like, you know, this is like a strong 6,
Sure.
light 7 for me. I like the mood. I like the vibe. I like the feeling. Oh no, you can see all three of us are fucking exhausted.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
all of we're not doing this so good, guys. Leave a like and a subscribe.
I mean,
yeah, no, this album's cool to me. It's fine. It's cool.
come for the conversations.
Yo,
Conversations.
this album's not booty, but it's scratching booty. It's near booty to me. I'm gonna give it a low album. I would say this is a 5 out of 10. It's not bad. Like, there's nothing you can say bad about this album. It checks all the boxes. If you want lyricism, it's there. You want like high level quality production, man, this mixed terribly. Yes, this is it.
Mixed terribly too.
Man, this is dull as hell, bro. It has no energy for me. The lyrics are behind for me. I'm just like, all right, like I have to listen for Roc's lyrics behind the mix. But hey, that's an aesthetic choice, and plus you got like vocals in a lot of these samples, so it's gonna be some muddy and mixing up on that. You're like, cool, but like overall, it's worth a listen. You know, I just think both of these guys are working on nostalgia at this point. It's like one of those like your favorite uncle made something, and you're just gonna listen to it because your favorite uncle made it. Like for me, it's all right. Like listen to it. You be decided. Don't take my word for it, man. And look, I look forward to your hate mail.
I'd rather listen to this shit than a fucking Jay-Z verse on a DJ Khaled album.
My wife
Fuck
Beyonce.
Jay-Z.
I
Yeah.
brag different.
Eat the rich. This fool Jay-Z said they're coming up with new words now like capitalism and and like we work hard for this. You know what I mean? We came from nothing. All right, Jay. Secret House Against the World. Album reviews, conversations, real shit. Roc Marciano, Alchemist, The Elephant Man's Bones. Like and subscribe.
I prefer to listen to Jay-Z than Roc. That's just me, though.
I know.
Don't
We
hold
getting
it
jiggy
against
with
me.
it.
No.
I ain't never listened to no
Yeah,
Khaled
fuck the
album.
all right.
That's a shot.